What is up, everyone? Alex here with another skin tier list, this time on Fiora, the Grand Duelist. Fiora is an interesting character, reminding me a lot of Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. Born into a noble family, she was basically set up from birth into being a pawn for political marriage. But she basically said nope and learned how to sword fight, eventually becoming the head of her household because of some various political circumstances. She's from Demacia, and despite no other characters having a French accent, she has a really heavy French accent, which is a little hilarious at the very least. Come on. She's a top laner and more of a melee carry, being a little squishier than other top laners, but has a heavy focus on dealing damage and outplaying her opponents, especially with her ultimate. Her modern one, anyway. Her old one could one-shot teams if you stack Tiamats. Yes, stack Tiamats. I said that correctly. Roll the clip. Yeah, League used to look way worse. I'm getting old. Anyway, that's some background info on today's champion. Segues are for people who are much more clever than I am. So let's get started on that tier list. Fiora has access to 8 skins. And in order, they are Royal Guard, Night Raven, Headmistress. Right, sorry. Project, Pool Party. Right, sorry, my bad. Soaring Sword, Heart Piercer, IG, and Pulsefire having just come out recently. I usually like to start my tier list at my D tier, which are reserved for the skins that I think are actually worse than the champion's base model. Something about the skin is just off or ruins what the champion's about. These skins are pretty few and far between, and some days I get lucky and a champion doesn't have any D tier skins. And today is one of those fantastic days where I get to skip this particular tier. Hooray for me. And all the Fiora mains who won't be ripping into me yet. So let's move on to our C tier. C tier is a pretty respectable tier, usually reserved for the skins that are a little on the cheaper and time-worn side. These skins are usually just a modest model change. Not bad, just kind of outclassed from the flashier skins that bring new animations or cool new effects to the champion. People often get a little confused on this, so I like to offer up a disclaimer. I don't dislike these skins. I don't think they're bad. If your favorite Fiora skin is here in C tier, more power to you. Enjoy. So let's start it out. First up is Royal Guard Fiora. This was one of her release skins. Yes, I said one of them. Champions used to come out with 2 skins on release. Yes, I'm old. Can we stop writing jokes that rely on me having played this game over a decade ago, please? Right, so as one of her older skins, it's not much more than a model change, but I like it a lot. I really like the light blue color it gets, I like the big hat with the elegant feather, and it's obviously a musketeer reference, which is fitting considering Fiora's title as the Grand Duelist and her fencing fighting style. But beyond the blue coloring and that oh so fancy hat, the only other thing worth noting is that this skin is one of her oldest and isn't in the Legacy Vault, and so it's available to buy at only 520 RP, but beyond that, I think we'll be moving on. Next up is Fiora's other release skin, her Night Raven skin. Apparently, this was nicknamed her Zoro skin before release. One day, I will review a champion who doesn't have an edgy version of themselves, but today is not that day because yes, this is basically edgy Fiora, boasting a palette change giving her some black armor and a red cape reminding me a lot of Dracula from Castlevania. Similarly to her Royal Guard skin, it doesn't do anything other than a model change, and if I'm being honest, I like the Royal Guard skin just a little bit more just because of the calming blue color scheme. And also the cheaper price is worth noting as the Night Raven costs 750 RP, which is still not much if we're being honest, and this skin has also stayed out of the Legacy Vault, which if I had to guess means that the skin is decently popular enough to remain out of that cursed hellhole in the League of Legends store. These older skins are a little difficult to spend a lot of time talking about just because they are a little more on the simpler side. Not a bad thing necessarily, but instead of straining myself coming up with more to say about this particular skin, we're going to move on to our B tier. So after reviewing my videos and scripts, I've found that my B tier tends to be pretty rough. Obviously, it's a higher tier than C or D, but it's a lot more muddy and gray with the skins that end up here. They're good, but they're missing just that last little something that keeps them out of that A tier. Also, it could be something as simple as I recognize that it's an amazing skin, but I don't like it for whatever reason. The inverse could be true as well. I could love the skin so much, but I know deep down that it's not really that special. With that last sentence in mind, let's get to our first entry. Oh boy. So, Headmistress Fiora is kind of an infamous skin that a lot of people know about, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, Alex, he's gonna make a bunch of inappropriate jokes about it. And usually you'd be right, but I won't, and for one very important reason. There's a small chance that I have a family member watching this, and that's just awkward next time I see them, and that's not okay. Besides, any jokes I can make about this skin have been said before already, so let's get into the details of it. Obviously, as a headmistress of a prestigious academy, she can't use a sword on her students or she'd have a bunch of pissed off rich folks at the next PTO meeting. So instead, she beats things to death with a ruler, and the sound effects of the skin reflect that. She gets a hilarious unique taunt where she breaks the ruler, which is a fun touch for the skin. It also has a bunch of chromas to choose from. Downside of the skin, it is a legacy skin, and as far as I know, is only available to purchase for 975 RP around Halloween time. This skin probably earns its place in B tier just because of the sheer popularity of it. And I have absolutely no idea why it's so popular. Yep, absolutely no idea. But here it stays. Next up is Fiora's Pool Party skin. This skin actually has a lot to it, so let's get started with it. It's gonna run you 1350 RP, so it's a bit pricier, but it has a lot of cool stuff to unpack. So first up is the model change. She trades out her armor for a swimsuit. That makes sense. Armor would get all rusty after all. You can't take an actual sword either because that would just pop everyone's floaties and beach balls, and that's just inconsiderate. So she trades that out for a foam sword. Although based off the splash art, it's still a pretty dangerous weapon. Next up is one of my favorite details. Instead of her cape, she uses a beach towel that she has draped around her neck, which is just fun, let's be honest. This skin also has a ton of chromas available to it, changing up her swimsuit and the flavor of popsicle she's carrying around, which is a nice summer-related detail. As far as animation changes, she gets a quick duel with a crab for her recall, which doesn't seem like a fair fight to me, but whatever. During her joke, she normally draws Teemo in the air, but that's been replaced by her drawing a crab. There's a joke somewhere in here about Fiora having crabs, but honestly, it would just feel lazy. And besides, I like Fiora, I think she's cool. As for spell effects, her passive and her repost get these Hawaiian-looking flowery runes for them, and her sword makes splash sound effects as she whacks them. Yes, I said whack, not cut, because it's a hilarious, blunt, weird weapon. Of course, her ulti is going to have some good changes to them, the vitals looking like water balloons to be popped, and upon popping them or killing the target, you get a nice, relaxing seagull cry. Relaxing murder. So this sounds great. Why is it in B tier? Well, honestly, it's gonna sound immature, but the way her foam sword flops around bothers me. It feels weird and I don't like it. I also think that she has more skins that do more, but honestly, if it wasn't for the sword, I think I would have tossed this in A tier. Next up in our B tier is Fiora's Valentine's Day skin, Heart Piercer Fiora. Now, it's no secret here that Valentine's Day isn't exactly my favorite holiday, and it's mostly just because while you're in a relationship, it's stressful to do something, and while single, everyone else seems to not shut up about being in a relationship. Either way, Valentine's Day, it's just not my thing. So obviously a legacy skin available in the lovely month of February and clocking in at 1350 RP, it should boast some good stuff to talk about. Well, you're gonna have to like the color pink. Like a lot. I've mentioned this with other V-Day skins, but if you're thinking about picking up any of these hardy skins, keep in mind you're gonna have to like pink, and to a lesser extent, red. So first up, the model change is more or less exactly what you'd expect. Lighter tones with some dark purple here and there, but we have some interesting stuff when it comes to animations. Similarly to Pool Party, instead of drawing Teemo in the air during her joke, she draws a Poro who looks like he's wearing a cupcake or something on his head. Needless to say, I made a very unmanly noise when I saw this, but we really don't need to talk about it. Something very cool and slightly disappointing is the recall animation, which shows Fiora changing into what looks like a beautiful Alice in Wonderland inspired Queen of Hearts kind of dress, finishing with a scepter flourish. There were so many manly, masculine words in that sentence, am I right? Alright, so why is this disappointing, you might ask, if it looks so cool, right? Well, that's kind of the thing. It looks dope. Why couldn't Fiora just be in the dress the whole time? Like badass, stoic duelist clowning people in a dress sounds awesome to me. I guess thinking about it, the model would have been too big compared to normal Fiora and create some weird interaction with abilities, which is understandable. Again, we get some pretty expected effects on her abilities, her repost, her passive, and her ulti, all getting some rather pink and flowery effects to them, and at the end of the day, that's probably my main gripe with the skin. Surprisingly enough, I'm not really a big pink flowery effect loving guy, and aside from the admittedly awesome looking recall, the model changes just aren't enough for me, so this definitely gets into B tier because I can admit that it is a pretty well done skin, it just hasn't stolen my heart, you know? Last entry in our B tier is Soaring Sword Fiora. This one I struggled with. I wanted to put it in A tier at first, but at the same time, I really don't think I can do it because, yeah, it has some cool stuff, but nothing that really blew me away. So it's part of the Immortal Journey skin line, which have a lot of Asian mythology-inspired looks to them. And this one is no different, which bring up two issues I have with the skin. Her French accent clashes dramatically with her new look, and it also just doesn't look like Fiora. I guess that's what feels off about the skin. I mean, that's the thing. It just kind of seems off. It does have a really cool recall animation involving swords, and the skin actually has a home guard animation to it involving her sword surfing. But that's it as far as new animations go. The spell effects aren't anything drastic either, having different designs for the same kind of stuff we've seen so far on her passive, her riposte, and her ultimate. And admittedly, when the ultimate explodes, it leaves a cool lotus-looking design, which is, yeah, it's cool of course, but I just don't think that it's enough to topple the last three skins we have to look at. But first, we're gonna talk about A tier. A tier, in my mind, are for a champion skins that maybe aren't perfect per se, but pretty much the best of what they have. There are gonna be skins that you don't think belong here, and there are gonna be skins that you think are missing from here, but at the end of the day, it's my A tier, and this is how I'm gonna do it. Also, the S tier, listed towards the end of the video, is just my personal favorite from the Champions lineup. It could change, it could be just extreme bias based off a skin line I enjoy. Star Guardian, Arcade, oh god, sorry, coronavirus, guess I'm dying. Last thing, I totally encourage people to comment how they'd list Fiora's skins. As long as everyone's being civil with each other, we shouldn't have any problems. Oh man, what am I saying? I'm asking people to be polite about other people's opinions on the internet. That's gonna go well. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our A tier. First up, we're going to talk about Project Fiora. I generally rank the project skins rather high on my tier list. I'm a big sci-fi fan. Random trivia fact of the day, before they got their final name, lightsabers were called laser swords in one of the earlier drafts for Star Wars. There, that's something lame, nerdy, and useless you know now. Speaking of laser swords, Fiora gets one of those, as well as a chilling voice filter that makes her sound like a soulless robot. I know the soulless part isn't new, but the robot part sure is. The recall is, of course, a little different, but it's nothing special, and if you do some research on your own, you'll find out that the skin has additional quotes. Well, it actually has one. Go ahead and play that.
Let them eat swords.
Thank you, Fiora, but I already get a lot of iron in my diet, so I'm good. The best part of this skin are the spell effects on the usual suspects. Project skins generally go for angular lights for their particle effects, which seem to make her ultimate a little more vivid to look at and make it easier to proc. But who knows? I definitely wouldn't say I'm a Fiora main. I'm just a baby-brained AD carry player who doesn't know any better. I'd say that about wraps up what we have for Project Fiora, so let's head to our next entry. Our last member of A tier is IG Fiora, and I'm not gonna lie, this was an extremely close call at the end here. The S tier slot changed several times during the scripting process because the last two skins we're talking about are just incredible in my opinion. But all things in time, am I right? Let's talk about the IG Fiora skin. What's IG stand for? Invictus Gaming? Are they good? Like better than TSM? Kidding. I'm kidding, of course. I talked about these skins a bit during the Rakan and Xayah video, but they were released to celebrate IG's World Championship win in 2018, and more specifically, the Fiora one was released in celebration of the Shy. Now, firstly, silver and black is always going to be an incredibly amazing color scheme, and the armor Fiora wears is super cool looking. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is the blonde hair looks not bad, but off. I think I would have rather it been silver or black, but as far as I know, the championship team gets a ton of say on how these skins end up looking, and so I have to imagine all of the IG skins being blonde is for a very specific reason, so I'll leave it to it being just a personal nitpick. Other than that, I love the silver and black spell effects on her passive, her riposte, and her ulti. I know I've been saying that a lot, but they have this inky look to them that looks like some kind of cool calligraphy. And I know what you're thinking, when is calligraphy cool? And the answer is all the time, dude. Some spell effects that I haven't really mentioned are particles related to her movement abilities, and it's just because they aren't relevant to my rankings for Fiora. I'm sorry, I meant weren't relevant, because for this particular skin, yeah, it was relevant. When she uses her dash ability, you get some crow feathers that kind of like fly away from her, and it's just a fun effect that I enjoy. I feel like that's about it for this one, right? I'm sure there's nothing else that's relevant or widely loved by Fiora mains who use this skin. Yep, time for the S tier. Nah, I'm just kidding. The recall is phenomenal and actually pretty funny, showing Fiora unceremoniously dropping her saber and trying to remove Riven's sword from a pedestal a la the Sword in the Stone Excalibur. And as usual with a lot of these championship skins, the Shy signature is front and center during the recall. Alright. Now that's the real end of the A tier. Last up, we're going to talk about my S tier pick, which is Pulsefire Fiora. Yes, it's the newest skin having just come out, and now you're questioning my integrity, right? Like, did I pick Pulsefire Fiora for the clickbait, or because at a fundamental level, I grew up on Star Wars and Halo and have this incredible nostalgic feeling for the sci-fi look with cool glowy blue particles? Yeah, it's all about the clickbait. No, but really, Pulsefire is definitely one of my favorite skin lines, and I am loving the current event that's going on right now in League, and have been playing non-stop to get those stupid tokens for that Prestige Pulsefire Lucian skin. I also already had to pick up that unique chroma for Pulsefire Caitlyn, but enough about AD carry champions, we have Fiora to talk about. Now, I will say that I usually only talk about chromas as an afterthought, if at all with skins, but this time I truly think that the best chroma is also the best way for this skin to look, and that's with the event-specific Chrono Chroma. She gets a darker color palette on her armor. We really don't need to talk about how I have a thing for redheads, but yeah, that's a thing too. And she gets a cool mask to go along with her new look. Next up, the recalls on Pulsefire skins are always opening up some kind of time portal, and we see that with Fiora with her saber pulling double duty as a time machine. And I love the end where she kind of just taps the button with the tip of her saber. It just kind of makes Fiora have this practice, almost bored air about her, like, oh, just opening another time portal. Same shit, different day, are we right? Yeah, I said ope. I live in the Midwest. I don't know what it is, but everyone says it like all the time. Like, what is ope? I don't even know. Now, for the spell effects, we take everything I liked about the project skin, but instead of almost hostile looking shades of red for the lights, we get calming blue lights, which are pretty consistent with other Pulsefire skins. Not to mention she gets cool video gamey sound effects that would sound at home in like a Ratchet & Clank game, which if you've been around my channel for a long time, you know that I love those games. I don't want to talk about it. Don't go back further than August of last year on my channel. Just ignore it. We're not going to talk about it. It's real bad. That's about it on Fiora. Be sure to tell me in the comments what your favorite skin is, and most importantly, why. I always love hearing that kind of stuff. Hey guys, you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. I mean, I really do appreciate it. I have no idea how you listened to that loser for however many minutes it was, but imagine, that's what I have to hear all the time. I got used to it. And so will you if you subscribe to see new videos. And hey, for extra practice, you can go watch all my other League videos too. But only if you like all of them and leave a comment telling me how much you love me. It's the internet, guys. I need the validation to live. Anyways, at the moment, I'm busy working on that next video for you all. So, don't forget to type a question mark in all chat when you get away with 12 HP. Use /mute all constantly. And wash your hands, guys. I want to go outside again. Anyway, I've been Alex, and I will see you all in the next one.